get ready for one such session now. We have Mr. Mahavir Pratap Sharma, Chair, TiE India Angels and Rajasthan Angels, and the past Chairman of TiE Global. Mr. Prashant Prakash, Partner, Axel Partners, and Chairman of the Vision Group on Startups, Government of Karnataka. And Mr. Pavan Ranga, Managing Director of Rangsons, engaging in a nice, relaxed conversation, a fireside chat moderated by board member of TiE Mysuru and founder PayPal Ventures, Mr. Ajit Pai. May I now request Mr. Ajit Pai to escort the experts onto this stage, please. We look forward to your thoughts around a range of aspects in entrepreneurship, startups, scalability, sustainability, and more. I request Mr. Ajit Pai to kindly take over, please.
Am I audible? Yeah. Thank you, Prashant. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, guests, and students. This is special. I couldn't have wished for a more diverse panel than this one, or a drier subject than business scalability and sustainability on a Friday evening. We only have 40 minutes, so let's dive in. Mr. Prashant Prakash is no stranger to Mysuru or TiE. Partner with Axel, one of the biggest VC firms in the world. Chair, Startup Vision Group, board member, KDM, and representing Bangalore, a city of 130 lakh people. There's no one better than him to offer us a ringside view of the startup scene in the country. Thank you for making the time, Prashant. We are fortunate to have with us Mr. Mahavir Sharma, an entrepreneur running a carpets and jewelry business, past chairman of TiE Global, our parent organization, chairman of TiE India Angels and Rajasthan Angels, representing Jaipur, a mid-sized city of 42 lakh people. He is a mentor par excellence and an investor in many startups. Good to have you with us, Mahavir. And lastly, Mr. Pavan Ranga, TiE Mysuru board member, a third-generation entrepreneur and a director of the NR Group, with interests ranging from agarbattis to aerospace. He's a serial entrepreneur, having scaled and exited companies, and who is on his next things with businesses in aerospace, neurocare, and test prep. And who better than Pavan to represent our own favorite city of Mysuru, a city of 12 lakh people, and one that has been promising for some time now to be the next big thing. Welcome, Pavan. The intention wasn't to make this a contest between cities, but only to state that the diverse experience in the worldviews that you bring will make this evening an evening of learning. But keeping in mind today that it's Friday, all work and no play will make this dry topic even more boring. And knowing Pavan as well as I do, he is not going to be happy. So this morning, I fired up ChatGPT and started a conversation. I described the event today, gave it your backgrounds, the topic, and asked ChatGPT to suggest some questions that I should ask each one of you. And keeping the Friday in mind, I also asked it for a couple of fun questions. I picked one each from the serious set and kept a couple of fun ones at the end. So Prakash, this is the first one from ChatGPT. Bangalore is known as the startup capital and has a very vibrant ecosystem. What unique advantages and disadvantages does Bangalore offer for startups looking to scale their business? And what role can cities like Mysuru play in supporting this growth of startups?
Thank you. Thank you, Sudhanma. Thank you. Is it, you could have made this even simple. Chat GPT would have given my answer to. And why should I be here? Huh? Anyway, that's probably a panel in 10 years from today, right? So all of us will be just here. So anyway, see, I think this is fifth conversation in Mysore on this topic. So we got to, so I just thought that today I'll come with something extremely disruptive in terms of thought, right? So I'm not going to say Mysore needs another venture fund, Mysore needs to have a seed fund, you know, all that. I think just coming on the highway today from Mysore, from Bangalore, just got the sense that I think now Mysore should be the new Whitefield. I think we have to stop this whole thing of saying Mysore is a different city. NCR. Has anybody traveled from Noida to Gurgaon? Yeah. So yeah, no, it's not working. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't see why we should have a greater Bangalore technology cluster, right? And if anybody has lived in Whitefield and traveled from Whitefield, you know the new quality of life we can offer for somebody thinking of choosing between Whitefield and Mysore today, right? So I think the time has come for this to be like NCR, a new cluster, and whenever this next government comes, let's together make this happen. So today we also had the founder of Axel visit Mysore, and we were very honored to the Maharaja of Mysore took us on a tour of the palace. And but while we were coming from Bangalore, he said, "Prashant, why isn't Mysore just like, when you say Silicon Valley is not just San Jose, it's not just Palo Alto, it is just not just Redwood City, right? So these are all, it's just one agglomerate, right? And one, so I think there is, and I'm going to be very brutally honest here, Bangalore happened over 100 years almost, right? From when the Maharaja set up IISc and everything happened, it took 100 years. So for us to expect something unique that Mysore can offer for entrepreneurs, and to expect that there is something unique here, I think we are fooling ourselves. So we have to ride on what is already successful. We have to then see how to best leverage this ecosystem that is there in Bangalore, and instead of somebody else taking advantage of that, why not Mysore take advantage of the Bangalore ecosystem? That would be mine.
Thank you, Prashant. Mahavir, again from ChatGPT. TiE has a very strong network of mentors and investors who work with entrepreneurs to help them grow their businesses. Do you have any examples of how mentorship and networking support the growth of startups in smaller cities? And how can entrepreneurs tap into these resources effectively?
Well, your question leads me to kind of taking what Prakash just said. You all know that, Bangalore, Mysore, and Mangalore have just launched an angel network collectively. So basically, Karnataka is working together in terms of investing together. And that's where the hub and spoke model, the small chapter model, TiECon across chapters, all these are examples, in my opinion, where TiE can create value. All of us traveling to smaller chapters, hand-holding them, smaller chapters coming to larger chapters and attending TGSs or TiECons in Bangalore, Delhi, Bombay, whatever. It's just a simple example of, learning from each other. Also, you have to understand that Mysuru is only 4 years old, and many chapters have not even done what they have done so far, in my opinion. Chapters that have been around for longer Calcutta, for example, Lucknow, Kanpur. The ecosystem is not there. I mean, you are so much in an advantage of being in the vicinity of Bangalore and just such a great highway. I think this big small difference or the distance just should not exist, because entrepreneurship is agnostic to the city or the size of the city. Innovation is agnostic to that. Technology is agnostic to that. COVID has taught us that we can be anywhere and be scaling up across the globe. So I don't think this demarcation between small and big will exist. I'm a strong proponent of tier 2, tier 3. I'm a strong for the economy and the startup ecosystem to grow. It cannot just be Bangalore, Delhi, NCR, or any other cities. It has to go to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities for India to be a force to reckon with and go from number 3 to number 2 to whatever. That's what my thought is.
Thank you, Mahavir. And finally, for Pawan, ChatGPT asks, as a third generation entrepreneur and the former MD of Rangsons Electronics, you have a lot of experience scaling a business from ground up. What are some of the key lessons you learned along the way? And what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs looking to scale their businesses in Mysuru?
First of all, thank you, Ajit Sudanwa, for giving me this opportunity. Always glad to be among a panel this eminent. Just before I answer that question, Prashant, to your point, I think I can right away think of one advantage Mysuru has over Whitefield. We can reach Bangalore faster.
Exactly my point. I think you have to market to every Bangalorean who's thinking of Whitefield.
Yeah. No, I think, Ajit, between you and me and maybe Kiran, who has a fast car, we should start taking people from Bangalore for trips to Mysuru. So yeah, anyway, to your question, Ajit, when I came back from the US after doing my master's, worked there for a bit, incidentally in Silicon Valley. So I totally get what Prashant was saying. Established an electronics design manufacturing unit here. Though we were in agarbattis for the past 70 years, we wanted to try something out. We said, let's diversify. And truly like an entrepreneur, absolutely nobody else from the family involved. It was a bunch of professionals who was my team. It was early days. Nobody knew what was electronics manufacturing as an industry back in those days. And, a few very crisply trying to capture a few of the challenges being from small town back in those days. The first thing you need, obviously, to embark on an entrepreneurial journey is a certain vision, a certain intent, and a certain, outlook. In small cities, that is tough to come by. But what I did was I traveled around the world to understand what is this industry, where is competition, how does this work? Because the industry itself was evolving. There was no structured EMS industry back in the 90s. The second thing is, as we started to grow, the key challenge was to attract talent, intellect. This is a very, very important task of the entrepreneur, to make sure that you onboard the right intellect and people with the right perspective and alignment. I think Mysoreans today are blessed. Back in the day, it was very tough to get and motivate people to move to Mysuru. Today, our beautiful town has hit a sweet spot. We got great standard of living, quality of life, good restaurants, time to spend your evenings. And still, we don't take more than 15, 20 minutes, point A to point B. So I think getting the right intellect, right people, right minds on board, which is so key in an entrepreneurial journey, I found it very tough, but was able to do it. And I got some great guys. They are the guys who actually made my journey what it is. And finally, the third thing I would like to share is that, in your entrepreneurial journey, you keep hitting glass ceilings. And we call it glass ceilings because you don't know it's a ceiling, but you're really not able to get to the next level and you don't know why. The best way to kind of address this challenge, which is invisible, is to reach out to mentors, reach out to people who have been there, been on such journeys, This was also a very difficult task back in the day for us to access such people in industries like this. Today, this is no longer an issue. The world is such a smaller place now. We're digital, we're online, we can travel anywhere. Logistics is no longer a challenge for Mysuru. So my learnings, Ajit, during the late 90s till mid 2015, 18, was these following things. And these were lot larger challenges back then. And I think today, entrepreneurs in Mysuru must actually feel blessed that we have access to all the things that were so challenging back then.
Thank you, Pawan. Those chat GPT questions were fairly low ball, I think. So let's move on to some more serious ones that I think worth considering. Mahavir, a textbook way of looking at scaling is to first get the basics right. Costs, product, quality, customers, and then step on the gas. Today, we see startups scaling massively, but are not sustainable. Ola, which we are all familiar with, has accumulated losses of 17,500 crores and has raised over 30,000 crores. It appears that the ability of the founder to raise money is more important than running the business. As an entrepreneur and a mentor to many startups, what would your advice be to make a business scale sustainably?
See, I have nothing against businesses that are trying to grow, spend money and burn and are burning money. You know, so long as your unit economics are positive, so long as you're operationally you're profitable, but you're spending money to acquire more customers, to do more research and development, to invest in your team, to grow, it's fine to burn. But if you are cost of customer acquisition minus everything else, and you're losing money on a daily basis because your lifetime value of a customer is much lower than your CAC, that will not survive. And that's where that is where the difference for an investor or a startup is to look at. Burning money is not something that should not be done. It is required if it is required, you know. But so long as you're growing and you have justifiable reasons. I mean, I was looking at a company with 135 crore burn with a top line of 78 lakhs. Now, can someone just give me an example as to in an edtech situation, how can you just give out free services and have a burn of one? So those things boggle me. And see, Ola's transition to EV and to all that, it's a different model. They're right now pivoting, and raising money is an important element in a startup's journey, and it's the most difficult and challenging under times right now. So I don't undermine people who are able to raise money, but so long as your focus is clear, your business sense is clear, your revenue model is strong and robust, I don't fear burning money, but it should not be in perpetuity.
Prashant, I would like you to jump on this, but before that, I have another small point which I would like to put out. Public markets treat businesses very differently than private markets. The few startups that have gone public have been given a brutal reminder on basic economics and valuations. What does it say of the VC ecosystem that got them to this point? And what are some of the lessons that the founders can learn from it?
So I totally agree with Mahaviri's point in terms of venture businesses are about scaling fast. And if you need capital for that, that's what venture capitalists are there for. Otherwise, they should be just bootstrapping businesses. And I mean that, but at the same time, the economics. Now, coming back to, just what would I add there? I would add that India is 3 Indias, right? So that you have the almost 0.1% India, which very much mimics the behavior of any global urban city. Then you have the urban middle class, which is maybe 5-6%. It's not even 10%. And then you have the tier 3 and tier 2 city audience, which are aspirational, which are which actually mimic to some extent the urban middle class today. And then you have the bottom, what we call as Bharat, right? So I think the first generation of entrepreneurs built largely for this 0.1%, right? They then tried to change customer behavior by using venture capital money to subsidize the rest of the people to behave like the top 1%, right? So that works well in a very capital rich environment, which we had for 10 years. And these 10 years will never come back anytime soon. So what this means is, Mavid, in the case of Ola, it's not even a pivot. We are investors in Ola. That company is different. The EV company is different. So Ola has to rediscover their business model for India, where people don't want to necessarily pay 400 rupees for a ride. And if they don't pay 400 rupees, they can't make money, right? How long can they subsidize that 400 rupees, right? It's just not going to work. So when you take these global models, adapt them for India, nobody ever put enough thought to understand the realities of India. But these are few examples. Now you talked about going public. There are a few companies which have gone public, like Nykaa, which had a very smart way in which they engineered their model. Now, one of the problems in India is when you want to scale, you can't scale just through digital acquisition. Because digital acquisition happens by you're paying in dollars to Google and Facebook. Your customers are paying you in rupees, right? How will that ever converge, right? So what do you need? You need an omni-channel model. Because with an omni-channel model, you build brand. So when people see you offline all the time, so you can be digital first, but you have to become an omni-channel model, and you scale, look at Mamaearth, or look at, like I said, Nykaa's future trajectory to scale is going to be through offline. So I think there is a way in which businesses in India can become profitable. I think entrepreneurs just had to be, the boards of these companies had to just prioritize the right metrics for these entrepreneurs, which they never did. And now my strong belief is that the next crop of companies that will go public, you will see, will be profitable, will be growing at not 60, 70, 80%, will be growing at 25 to 30%, which is what is sustainable in India. And number three, there will be not only pure digital businesses, there will be omni-channel businesses.
Thank you. Very, very good explanation. Thank you, Prashant. That is most enlightening. You talked about this, Pawan, but the bigger question is that does location really matter? We're talking about Mysuru for the last 15, 20 years. CIA has been trying to get an airport. The roads are really getting better. And Walmart, the world's largest company, is in a town of 50,000 people. The world's largest institutional investor is in a town of 500,000 people. In your own case, you scaled up, and today Mysuru is the ESDM capital, ESDM hub. We have Keynes and other people. So if this has happened in Mysuru, what advantages did Mysuru have? And this is pre the road, pre the airport. What advantage Mysuru have, apart from, of course, you being in the family business? What advantage Mysuru have? And did you look at other locations to set up before you decided to set up in Mysuru?
Truth be told, I didn't consider any other location because we were committed to Mysuru, first of all, as a family, as a business, as a group. And look, if you actually look deep, Mysuru historically has been an education hub. So you have enough technical minds coming out of schools, colleges, technical institutions. So I knew that. And this is data, this is fact. Now, the question was, for example, in electronics manufacturing, right? We could either go the China way and build high volume devices, or we could go to, the more engineering driven manufacturing way, which is the one I chose. And the reason I chose that was because I was in Mysuru. So I tried to leverage the strengths of what we had here. We had great engineering minds. If you, to Prashant's point, right, there are so many hub and spoke locations around a successful geolocation for business. Because look, if you look at Mysore against Bangalore, for example, one of the key strengths even today, we are building very critical systems and components for today. We are from Mysore, we ship to Boeing 777 Dreamliner, we ship to Airbus, to Gaganyaan. The first human crew module is being placed in our factory here. So we're doing some amazing work from Mysore. One of the reasons why, because the employee retrenchment rate in Mysore is way lower than Bangalore. Now, this is not some metric for just some revenue or cost number, right? You can hold intellect. So you look at industries that places like Mysore are actually aligned with. They're engineering-driven industries, deep, like cybersecurity today. I'm sure 5 years, 8 years down the line, the cybersec companies that have come and established themselves in Mysore will say this was the best thing they did. Because you have intellect, you have engineering minds, and you have low employee turnover rate. So it's important to choose the right kind of industry that is suited to a certain place. And I think Mysore has some amazing strengths, like I just mentioned. Now, again, to Ajit's point, is location important? I think location is very important. It's not as important as it used to be, but it is very important. Like, for example, I believe that establishing a presence in the Delhi NCR region has its own strengths. Mysore has its own strengths. Bangalore, I think, is one of the best places to establish a new age industry. Pune has its strengths in manufacturing. So every ecosystem, every culture, local place brings a flavor to it. So it is important, but it's not as important as before due to all the obvious reasons of online, remote, better logistics and so on and so forth. So, a long answer, short condensed summary is, I think Mysore is a fantastic place for entrepreneurs, for new industries, for startups, and for larger industries to come in. It just has to align itself with the place, and the place you have to understand how to extract the strengths from it.
Prashant, when we were chatting the other day, you mentioned that to scale, there are two things required: capital and talent. In Bangalore, it began in 1985, at least the software part, when Texas Instruments started its Overseas Development Center. Then came HP in 1988, STPI in 1991 with its infrastructure, and then the Y2K opportunity. So what we see Bangalore today is a virtuous cycle that brought loads of capital and a huge talent pool that started 38 years ago. So in the grand scheme of things, is Mysore just early in this game and only a matter of time till the ecosystem develops? Pawan, you can also jump in as well.
Yeah, I think you're very right. It's for almost a 30 to 35-year journey that Bangalore has gone through. And while Infosys and Wipro and all of them played a role, the real talent started coming in with the GCCs, which, if you see, Sachin and Binny were in Amazon in Bangalore, right? So if Amazon didn't have an office in Bangalore, they probably wouldn't have moved from IIT Delhi. They would have ended up going abroad and working for Amazon in Seattle. So I think there was a big role that a lot of these global R&D centers and the type of talent that they were able to attract, I think really changed the base ecosystem in terms of talent capabilities and made it not, if not valley level, but I think we were somewhere comparable to, New York or any other city, right? So I think that would require, maybe, not just one organization like yours, Pawan. I think we need to see a lot of global institutions, organizations now get inspired by what you folks have done and set up capabilities, right? So we need to attract, and I think through KDM and what BV and team are doing, it's about just increasing. I mean, just it's not about getting more. I mean, yes, it helps if you have more IT companies and outsourcing from here, but you really need the next gen, the next level of talent. And I think anchoring on some specialization, like what Mysuru is doing, whether it's with the ESDM and or cybersecurity, I think is a good one. But I think you can even broad base it, because there's no reason why any global R&D today should not think of Mysore as an option. But I think, like I said, it's both. Capital is not going to happen in Mysore, in my opinion, right? I think there's just too much of a leap of faith to expect some of these funds to set up offices here. Most of them now work with people in Jaipur, and they're very comfortable funding people as far as connectivity to that place is decent. So I think entrepreneurs in Mysore are lucky that Bangalore is so close. So they should be able to tap into any venture fund in Bangalore now and say that, I mean, there are reasons why they would still like to be located in Mysore. I think funds will be okay. So because things have changed after COVID. If it was 3 years ago, they said, no, you please move to Bangalore, right? So I think there's a lot going on, which is positive for Mysore to really now market itself aggressively. So I think this is a market. I mean, most cities have happened globally. Some have happened by chance, right? Like, I think Bangalore is one of those that happened by chance because of, Texas Instruments coming, and then the STPI first, what BB set up in Bangalore. So there are few things that happened, but the Infosys happening there. But I think now there is Jaipur, there is, many cities that will compete for the next economic activity, for the next level of economic activity. So I think Mysore needs aggressive packaging and branding. And I think the timing, I don't know, today, this just coming on that highway today, I think has changed my whole perspective. I mean, we always spoke about the value of connectivity, but yes, of course, we need a high-speed train. But it's a good start, right? So you just add one high-speed train between these two cities, and this whole game can change. So I think we're onto something here. But the good news is, and this is my belief, right? So what took 30 years for Bangalore, 35 years, should not take 35 years here. That's not how innovation builds on, or smart cities and smart people will build on what other people took longer to do, and will do it much faster. So I think Mysore, yes, we've not been able to do what I think our potential was in the last 10, 15, 20 years. But I feel highly confident, just, it's just a gut. It's just a intuition that in the next 5 years, you will not be able to recognize Mysore.
Mahavir, just to add to what Prashant has been saying, Jaipur has been in the news, 7th in the startup scene in India, home to TiECon and maybe a few other founders who have become companies which have become unicorns. Is there something different about Jaipur in the last 10, 15 years you've seen about capital, about founders coming in, or is it all homegrown there?
No, there's multiple factors. One, of course, is a vicinity to Delhi NCR, and Gurgaon's and Noida's being what they are. Two, I think the last decade in the startup ecosystem, from the central government to the past state government to the current state government, have been very focused on creating infrastructure, on creating policies that are investor friendly. Startup ecosystem has been very vibrant. So I think those are multiple reasons. Plus, I think the quality of life, the commute, which I mean, Bangalore gets beaten on every forum every day. I think Jaipur has great educational institutions, has great infrastructure, beautiful city, peaceful city. So I think it works in multiple ways. And then Infosys, Genpact, all these major influxes that were just being spoken on happened in Jaipur 20 years ago. So Mahindra SEZ and Infosys being there, or Deutsche Bank being there, all these created confidence in investors, in startups, in companies to start, and then DealShare and Card Dekho. So Razorpay, Zostel, they're all Jaipur boys, but they moved out to Bangalore's of the world because it did not exist now. But now they don't. Now they will stay back. And that's what I think Jaipur did. And many other cities I'm trying to focus on. Chandigarh is now trying to do. Surat is now becoming stronger and stronger. Indore is working. So all these cities you'll see will be fast competing with Pune's and Bombay's and other cities. So I think all those multiple reasons, I think.
Thank you. I'll open it to everybody in the panel here. My next question. Pawan and Prashant, you are involved in KDM and beyond Bengaluru. We've been talking here, and the one thing that comes out is infrastructure and ability to move people and ideas. Silicon Valley wasn't built on government incentives. Over the last 30 to 40 years, Karnataka has had governments from Congress, BJP, and of course, many coalitions. And Bangalore has grown from strength to strength, not because of, but in spite of the government. So if I were to play devil's advocate and say to the government, just do the basics: power, water, roads, land, connectivity, clear rules and regulation, and step out of the way. Would I be wrong?
Okay, please.
Ajit, I think what you're talking about makes sense, but there are two aspects here. I believe that for a city to grow, a startup ecosystem is not just enough. For a city to see its next level of evolution, larger industries are key drivers. And larger industries are driven by incentives. We're competing with other governments, other state governments that are very aggressive. So I believe that city-specific or zone, region-specific incentives are key drivers. If you look at Pune, Bhiwadi, you look at many examples around the country, they became industrial hubs initially due to the incentives and the benefits given. So I think for Mysore, similarly, while we are well positioned to be a startup ecosystem, I believe we also require larger industries, anchor industries to come in. And for that, government intervention is imperative. I don't think it can happen without that. And I'm yet to see some meaningful, really strong, incentives come that are specific to Mysore for large industries.
So I actually agree with you, Pawan. I think trying to do what Bangalore is doing, or what Jaipur is doing, I don't think is the right thing, right? So we don't have to become a startup hub in the way we know other startups are. If you look at the type of industries Pawan has built, if you look at Keynes, if you look at some of these other, I think and look at the global geopolitical situation today. There is a significant decoupling from China. There are tariffs on all exports from China into the US in many, many categories. I think there is an opportunity for a very different type of engineering, high-tech engineering industries to emerge from here because of what some of the other existing role models have been. So I would switch gears totally. I will stop talking about any software related industry here in Mysore. I think Mysore can become, and because, every 10, 15, 20 years, the opportunity uh, changes. And I think now the hardware industries and industries related to semiconductors and industries related to manufacturing, I think uh, um, uh, the global south will, outside of China, become, that is India, Indonesia, Vietnam, maybe a couple other countries, will all in total replace about 30 to 35% of exports from China. And that is huge. That is about $2 to $3 trillion every year, right? That we are adding. So let's rethink what we're trying to focus in Mysore. And there are good examples of high-tech engineering and ESDM and other things that have happened. So, and now to answer your question, some of that does require government incentives. And the government has to re-envision this as a different kind of cluster. And for that cluster, they have to, because PLI and some of these schemes don't help very early stage companies. They are more for scale companies. For early stage companies, you need very different incentivization. If you're serious about manufacturing, if you're serious about high tech, and we are serious about taking advantage of the geopolitical advantage that India has.
I want minimum, I'm a different school of thought. I just want minimum government interference. If you're a good entrepreneur, if you're a good company, you will survive. You will find the right place. Like he found Mysore. I really don't look for government subsidies and incentives. Bureaucracy will never let that happen. They'll give you a waiver of electricity duty. They'll give you a waiver of various things. They will not give you anything for free, because that's the mindset and that's how budgets are balanced. So I don't even look forward to it. I'm totally different school.
Okay, thank you. I think that is diverse thought. And let's not forget the fun part from ChatGPT. Mahavir, Jaipur is culturally rich heritage city and a lot of history. If you could switch places with a historical character, who would it be and why?
As a child, I was fascinated by Maharani Gayatri Devi. So I would be her ex-husband, Raja Man Singh. I was a St. Xavier's boy. It was an all-boys school, and MGD was an all-girls school, and she was very much alive. And I was in school. She was alive when we did our Golden Jubilee, and I was the president of the alumni. I think she was the most elegant lady that I've ever seen. So if anyone in history in Jaipur, I would be Raja Man Singh.
Great answer. The next one is for Prashant. This one hit the nail on the head. As a Bangalore native, can you tell us about a time that you got caught in the city's notorious traffic? And what did you do to pass the time?
So I think, I've been lucky that I'm addicted to, calling people, right? So I just create these situations where I'm, constantly figuring out who have I to call right now and which of my 100 projects need my attention. So I think just the number of initiatives currently, at least I'm involved in Bangalore, just require a lot of airtime. And thanks to the mobile revolution in this country, I just don't have a problem just operating from my car.
I actually have a feeling that you enjoy it. Pawan, we've heard that you're a bit of a foodie. Can you tell us about a particularly memorable or unique culinary experience you had in Mysore? The joke being in Mysore.
Sorry, last part.
The joke was that it should be in Mysore.
I am a foodie, not bit of. I'm a real foodie. The first, and I love non-veg. What can I say? I just love meat. And the first culinary meat experience I had was Salina Auntie's samosas. Back in the early 80s, she would call home and we would go there and eat tons of samosas made perfectly to the hilt. It started there, and then while growing up, we used to sneak out from school in between classes and go to this 5-star hotel called Tegu Mess. For those of you who know, that was obviously it still goes on. I still sneak out from home because we're vegetarians at home. So that continues. And all the way from there to the pretension of going to sports club for a shuttle game, but really going there for the biryani is never lost. So I think the culinary experiences in Mysore are limitless, and nowadays we have a budding chef among us in Manish, who does multi-course, outstanding gourmet Michelin level meals for us. So it just goes on. And Paiji, thanks for the question. Now I'm hungry.
Thank you. We are out of time. Actually, we are way past time. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's an enjoyable session. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. Now we only have Charu Sharma between you guys and the bar.
I request you to hold on for a moment, please, Mr. Pai. Thank you. Thank you. It was such a content-rich discussion. Every one of us here were in awe listening to you. Thank you, Mr. Mahavir Pratap Sharma, Mr. Prashant Prakash, and Mr. Pavan Ranga, and for a wonderful moderation, Mr. Ajit Pai. I request Mr. Pavan Ranga to hand over a token of our gratitude and appreciation to Mr. Mahavir Pratap Sharma.